for those progressive voters, one of the factors for them is who could they strategically vote for in order to block the conservatives. Conservatives still have a very comfortable advantage, and if they hold on to 42%, it's still a majority government. So why don't we just say carbon tax election out the door, tax on capital gains probably out the door too, and the Liberals wanting not to fight the next federal election on those issues. The Conservatives have been having a very comfortable double-digit lead for quite a long time, like not last August, the August before that. And what we saw over the holiday break, at least, were the Conservatives ramp up what was a 10, 15, 20-point advantage into a whopping 27-point advantage just leading into the week before Justin Trudeau decided to step down as both Prime Minister and leader of the Liberals, or announce his resignation. And, check out the change over the last couple of weeks, though. Now, so Justin Trudeau steps down, and now what we have is the Conservatives at around 42%, down from 47%. The Liberals at around 25%. They're up. That's actually the big movement over the last while. Conservatives numbers going down and the Liberal numbers going up. NDP at 18%, Bloc at 7%, Green at 6%, People's Party after that about 1-2%. But the big movement in the post-Justin Trudeau world is a little bit of negative pressure on the Conservative numbers and a little bit of upward movement for the Liberals. But Conservatives still have a very comfortable advantage, and if they hold on to 42%, it's still a majority government. Yeah, I think a lot of that has to do with Justin Trudeau resigning and the vacancy that he has created. What happens is that when a party does not have a leader, there is nothing to repel people specifically. Why don't we just say general repellents, but not specific repellents? So in this particular case, people would be looking at the Liberal Party and they say, well, perhaps Chrystia Freeling could be the leader. Perhaps Mark Carney could be the leader. Perhaps Karina Gould could be the leader. They see individuals like that and they project onto the party, and the numbers go up a little bit. And that's actually what we're seeing. Once the Liberals select a leader, then we'll actually have the real numbers in terms of whether there's any real bounce to make the Liberals a little more competitive with the Conservatives than they have been over the last year and a half.
Nick, at certain points last year, the Liberals and the NDP were nearly neck and neck, and now the NDP is sort of falling into third place, ballot tracking wise. Do you see this as a trend, and what does this mean for their leader, Jagmeet Singh?
Well, it's definitely got to be worrisome for the New Democrats and for Jagmeet Singh. The thing is that when the NDP and the Liberals are in about the same zone, that's good news because at least for the New Democrats, because it shows that they're a potential alternative. And, under Tom Mulcair and Jack Layton, the NDP were ahead of the Liberals because, for those progressive voters, one of the factors for them is who could they strategically vote for in order to block the conservatives. And I think for Jagmeet Singh and the New Democrats, if they're at 18, like 16, 17, 18%, it's not good news for him because it won't be the breakthrough that people were hoping that his leadership would have provided. And it also means that come the election, if the NDP are at 18 now, come the election, perhaps it might be a little lower if some of those New Democrats decide to vote Liberal in order to try to stop the Conservatives in some of these tighter races.
Nick, ballot tracking is one thing, but how it translates into seat projections is quite another. What can you say about that?
Well, the latest seat projections for Nanos, and we also include the ridings that are too close to call. We don't declare those ridings based on the modeling. But when you look at the top number, the Conservatives are firmly in the driver's seat. We have 164 ridings declared as a win for the Conservatives based on the latest Nanos tracking. 51 declared as winners for the Liberals. Bloc at 40, NDP at 14. But there's still, Michael, 51 ridings and another 30 ridings or 81 ridings in total that are too close to call, which means the margin is razor thin at 2%. Or between 2 to 4%. So still some room for movement. And I think the the big question is going to be those block numbers and the Liberal numbers, how those ridings might break, and whether the separation or the way the races pan out could put the block into the opposition. So anything can really happen right now, but in terms of who could be second. But when it comes to who's at the top of the heap, it's Pierre Poilievre and the Conservatives with a very comfortable, over 100-seat advantage in declared wins over the Liberals.
Is it fair to say that until we have a new Liberal leader, that these numbers can change a lot, and we won't really get a clear sense of the picture until we know who's leading that party?
Yeah, I think it's fair to say that we'll get a sense of whether the numbers will change once we know who will be leading the Liberal Party of Canada. Now, think of it this way. The Conservatives with a 27-point advantage, if they were able to maintain that, that would have been an extremely exceptional thing for them to do and very difficult for them to do. They don't need a 27-point advantage to win a comfortable majority. So now that we're seeing a little bit of pressure on the Conservative support, what we're probably getting into is the area of the real advantage. And my guess, Michael, is that the real advantage for the Conservatives is probably someplace between 10 and 20% over the Liberals, not necessarily 27%. Well, you can imagine how Justin Trudeau's feeling, all the work that he's been doing over the last number of years, and things like the carbon tax and the capital gains tax being thrown overboard. There's such a thing as a policy boat or ship being thrown overboard by the top contenders for the Liberal leadership. And I don't know. I guess what they're trying to do is to make sure that the election is not about those things, which has irritated a number of Canadians. But, they have to risk alienating or disappointing Canadians, especially progressive Canadians that supported the capital gains change, supported the carbon tax. They probably feel betrayed by this group of Liberal potential leadership contenders. And, so I guess the big question, Michael, is if you're a progressive and you like the carbon tax and stuff like that, you're probably thinking, would you rather have a Liberal government or a Conservative government? Are you going to punish the Liberals for flip-flopping? Or are you so worried about a potential Conservative win that you're going to hold your nose and vote Liberal, even though they might have reversed themselves on some policies? We don't know how that's going to pan out. But, right now, at least for the Liberals, they're changing some of their major platforms in order to take them off the table so that the election is not about these irritants. So why don't we just say carbon tax election out the door, tax on capital gains probably out the door too, and the Liberals wanting not to fight the next federal election on those issues.